I didn't do it.
You actually bought a pen?
I did. You were not, I haven't been to the farm show in years, so I was running low on supplies.
Well,
You should have told me. I got a whole stack of them at home.
Yeah, but the farm show pens, they only work for like 30 minutes and they die.
okay, so lecture 9. So judging team schedule, you guys are gonna miss Monday.
And probably Wednesday.
So who's going? Okay, do you want to meet or make it up when they get back? It's up to you. I get paid to be here.
Let's do it all at once.
Because Alexis will be back Monday.
When would you be attempting to try to do a makeup for that?
I don't know.
I'm
That's
just
to be
gonna show up.
determined.
I'm not gonna have time.
Okay, do you guys still want to have your exam on Wednesday?
Let's send it.
This one?
Do
Yes.
it before we leave. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, so everybody agree with that? Okay, I'm just giving you an opportunity if you want to change it. So 2 of you be here, 4 of you be here on Wednesday. Everybody, 4 of you will be here tomorrow for lab. And then we've got 2 of you here on Monday, is that?
Just me. Isn't she going with you guys?
Yeah, I thought she'd come back like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't know. It might just be me.
Okay. And then lab, we're gonna have to make that up at some point. And then everybody should be back by Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then you got one more Harrisburg,
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
No, that's in November though.
Okay. So we got to focus on a makeup for, we'll hold all classes as scheduled except for next Tuesday, and we'll make up the lab somewhere along the way. So we'll make that decision a week from Wednesday as to when that occurs. So I would imagine we just make lab run extra long for 1 week and we get caught up. So yes, it would. So,
Yeah,
but the problem is you've got judging right after lab, right? Or has that been moved to?
No, it's gonna move to Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, so that'll probably, we're going, those of you that might be interested in Dairy Challenge, I need to know. Got 1. Anybody else? Okay, so possibly you 2. Okay, I'll send you the links and we'll get you signed up. Does anybody know about Alexis or not? Okay. So we'll get that sorted out. Any questions?
Oh.
Well, they have the tabs in there. That looks pretty real to me. I mean, I know corn syrup doesn't come from that.
No, somebody set that up. Put a lot of work into it. Okay. So we're talking about areas to improve and we're focusing on milking at the moment. So we're about halfway through. So udder prep. Our goal is to start milk ejection and we want a good, strong start. So we get a good, strong squeeze. That good, strong squeeze reduces milking time. So getting animals in, milked and back out, especially if we're running 24 hours a day, is going to make probably our most expensive asset, our milking parlor, be used most efficiently. So we can knock off 10, 15 seconds a turn. That adds up to a lot across a day. We want to milk clean and dry teats. We're trying to keep the bacteria out of the milk. And we've talked about all that so far. You guys ready to summarize that? So how would you prep a cow and how would you address each of these 3 points? starting the milk ejection, how would you make sure the teats are clean? How would you make sure the teats are dry before you attach that machine? So put together a milk prep system that gets those three things done. And what are you going to do where?
First off, the cows.
You guys want to work together as a group? Then come back and report your results?
Sure.
Okay, jump into it.
I'm writing something. Give me a minute. The longer you hurt, the longer I'm gonna get correct.
You only wrote one thing.
Okay, so dipping, and then.
First.
What?
Put cows in barley.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So we gotta go proper contact. Cover whole feet.
3 quarters.
And then they.
It's you want to see you cover how much of the seed that's actually being put in the
Next, you wanna leave it a good 20 to 45 seconds till finding something on the peroxide or item.
Only for 60 for good measures. Four strip.
So then 1 and then 2, 4 strip, work from with front to back.
I'm gonna,
Close to the two. No, it's further away from you.
yeah.
Further away would be back. Yeah. And it also depends on the bar.
Front border to back border.
Depends on the parlor.
The front of their teeth to the back, but we have a,
It's
the Morrisville one, and it's gonna be the left.
Do that and then, I think.
Start from the furthest teeth.
He's changing the name depending on his location, whereas Rosie's maintaining that front quarters are always the front quarters. Communication, folks.
White border. Mark individual wipes. The cow. And again, back to the front to back. Close.
Furthest.
Say. We got 2-minute window, and you're doing that before your tax machine, make sure no, we're about down and 40 minutes. Well.
If it's same folder I do.
We're going to discuss it. So come to a consensus of what you think prep should be. Okay, what are your steps? So put cows in parlor. What part is that going to address? What should that be part of? Milk ejection, clean, or dry?
Oh, pre-dipping?
We're talking about putting the animals in. What is What does that have to do with anything? Hopefully clean. We're doing things that there, but specifically putting animals in the parlor does what? It probably starts the milk ejection reflex, but you also putting them in the parlor, you don't want to inhibit. So no spikes of adrenaline or stress hormone bringing things in. So it's going to be part of the milk ejection, getting them in the parlor. What's your next step? Dipping. What does that do? So what part is it?
Clean.
Clean. We're trying to get the bacteria out, so it's clean. What's next? Force stripping. So what does that do? Injection and what?
Clean.
Clean. We're getting the bacteria off that plug or dirt that's in that teat end, getting that out, trying to keep the milk clean. What's next? Wipe. That does what? We're hopefully definitely going to do the dry. It should help a little bit with the clean, but what else?
Oh, good.
Stimulation. So you've got all three during that wipe cycle. Then what?
You were discussing the time, but couldn't figure it out. A minute at least, and then put a machine.
Yeah, minute to 2 minutes. You want to do the minute to 2 minute attach. So attach is the next step. You want to catch that milk as it comes down. The stronger your milk ejection reflex, the tighter your window. So stripping and wiping at the same time is going to make that window tighter than if you strip and then come back later and wipe. You're going to spread things out. So, okay. So milking management, our goal has to be to keep the bacteria out of the milk. Why do we want the bacteria out of the milk?
Want good milk quality, you don't want a high somatic cell count that's produced, you don't want to buy it.
Okay. Somatic cells are not bacteria, but you do want to pass your quality tests, right? So you got your standard plate count, your laboratory pasteurization, preliminary incubation, all those different tests. We need to do that. What else about keeping bacteria out of the milk? What's another advantage?
You lessen the likelihood of transferring bacteria from one cow to the next with machines.
Possibly, yep. What else? I'm talking about you're in the tank. You're being sucked out. What's the benefit of low bacteria? Anybody know?
Casing quality. Better component quality.
Okay, and we expand that to a bigger. Probably not. What I'm looking for is taste. Tastes better. You keep the bacteria out, especially that udder tea that works its way in there. Shit soup. We don't want to add that to the milk. It's going to taste funny. So bacteria will start to destroy the casein, destroy the fat, do all the things that bacteria do, and they're going to throw in that off taste. So does everybody have this handout? And did I give it to you already in your packets? I think it's all the way in the back, if I'm not mistaken. Or is it all up front? Do you have the big? There should be a big version of it in there somewhere. Or did I just do the graph with the big version?
Yeah, we just have that slide.
Okay, so I didn't print that out big for you. Okay. So working as a group, I want you to answer the following questions. On that list, which items are equipment related for keeping the bacteria out of the milk or lowering the bacteria counts on the cow? Which are animal related but not milking time? And which ones are milking time or milking management? How would you divide that list up? All recommendations related to handling our cows.
You go back to the slide.
which are equipment related. You can work together or separately, however you want to handle it. Which are equipment related, which are animal related, animal management related, but not at milking time, and which ones are related to milking management, the actual harvesting of milk.
This isn't the handout you just gave us.
Yeah. No, we've had it since last
Okay,
year.
fine.
If you get to us in what I want to.
When I gave
It's
you
a-
those milking management ones, skipped a page. There it is.
One thing be for both.
Sure. It's not what you call a clean list. But life isn't clean, so. Everybody got the list sorted.
Okay.
Have we got something we can play with? Okay, equipment related. What's equipment related?
Please.
So those are the most directly related to that. You could call stalls equipment, certainly, or we could fit them into what other category?
Yeah.
Animal management, possibly. So clean stalls, no muddy lots. clipping or singeing,
This is all.
at least in theory, yeah. Partial insertion of the treatment tubes. Does everybody know what that means?
Yeah.
So we don't, back in the old days, we had the long things that got all the way up in the teat cistern. We realized that that's not necessary. Although it was more fun to run around the farm using them as squirt guns. So. Which leaves milking management, individual wipes, approved teat dip, clean teat dip, making sure that teat cup remains clean, clean hands at least, if not gloves. No milk moving from cow to cow, possibly keeping that equipment clean. Do not contaminate udder during the milking process. So no hoses, single towels, partial insertion of the treatment tube if we're doing something at the end of milking. No water on the udder, and then having a post dip. All these things can work to reduce the amount of bacteria on the cow. So facilities, what facilities do we need to maintain top quality milk? So related to the barn, what do we need? Clean, dry. So we're changing, we got a bedding management schedule that leaves bedding in the stalls. And it's turned over on a regular basis. So certainly on some farms I've worked with, well, we only bed once a week. Well, what are they laying on about the fourth day? Nothing. Well, if it was cement, they were old fashioned mattress. Does everybody know how to do the old fashioned mattress bedding? Mattress stalls? Lay down the canvas, you put lots of hay in it, and then you fold up the canvas, you bolt it down with like a 2x4 or something like that. So it starts out as a big giant pillow that gets flattened very, very quickly. So over time, things can be a problem. So not having that sawdust on there every day to absorb, if nothing else, it helps scrape or scour the stall a little bit cleaner. Milking equipment, what do we need?
Cooling system.
Proper cooling system that needs to be working, functioning. Okay, so inspected, checked. So we need to make sure those inflations, that machine is working, closing, opening the way it's supposed to. No lags, no incomplete opening, no incomplete closing, no squawking, make sure things are attached. But from equipment standpoint, we need to inspect things on a daily basis. Very clean. So should be an inspection schedule, things we check on a daily basis, things we check during milking. So if we get a hole in inflation, what happens?
It was vacuum.
You do, but what happens?
Your hole.
Bacteria.
Could be an opportunity for bacteria to move in.
That makes a lot of noise.
Yeah, noise and milk.
That noise. Why'd you bring that up?
Because kind
Because I remembered it.
Okay, so what does it do? If you got a hole in inflation, what does it do? The system is not working the way it's supposed to. So it's not opening, closing the way it should. So other milk quality issues. So we had the various bacteria counts. Off flavors. Has anybody ever dealt with that?
yes.
Cows get out in the onion grass and start eating. They might like it, but that onion flavor gets transferred to the milk. Cornell, when they first designed their system, they had their milking parlor holding area over a slatted floor. So what do we know? Anybody here dealt with slatted floors? Slatted floors.
Yes. Waste. I've heard of them.
You have holes in the floors that in theory, the cows walking on it will push everything through. So they're either long, thin channels, or the more newer ones have like little squares in kind of a waffle pattern to force stuff through.
Isn't that uncomfortable for them to stand?
Depends on the design, but yes, it can lead to problems if it's not maintained or cracks or things like that. So the smells from the pit were coming up to the animals or being up in the air in the parlor, so you could smell that pit. So where does the air that moves the milk come from?
Stinky pit.
The stinky pit was basically mixing, that smell was mixing with the milk, and anything fat soluble stayed in the milk. So for a while there, they were putting steam back through the milk to get those flavors out. So that barn taste. Do you really want to lick a manure pit when you drink your milk? Probably not, right? Another way to describe milk quality is the amount of components. What is the percentage of milk fat? What is the percentage of milk protein? As also follows under some people's definition of milk quality. So, I don't think I've showed you this yet. Let's see if I can make it work. So singeing udders. Has anybody done that before?
No, but I watched you guys do it.
Last year?
Mhm.
I've seen veterinarians.
So you've singed?
Yeah, a couple times.
Have you? So it's a hell of a lot easier than clipping udders. If we do it right, the animal should not get hurt. But for the first time you do it, there are some issues that we take precautions that you probably should continue to take. But if you move it quickly over the udder, it should get rid of the hair but not burn the skin. So the problem with what you're seeing in this video, I prefer to do it in the parlor. This is what we talked about, burning things down. You can see that ember fall down. If you got manure, you start that on fire. It falls down in the sand bedding. It might smolder for a while and eventually ignite. So I prefer to do things on a wet floor, not over bedding. But that's me. You can do it. And we had our past manager did it all the time. He'd go out and singe the dry cows in the stalls.
When shavings?
Yeah, never had a problem. But he was very quick and very fast. So we have that method. That's a propane tank with a specifically designed wand that burns things in a cold flame. Does everybody know what a cold flame is?
Alcohol as fuel instead of.
No. If I'm using propane as my fuel, how do I know I've got a hot flame versus a cold flame?
Color.
Color. So what color do I want this to be under the cow?
Blue.
Yellow or orange, not blue. Blue's a very hot flame. How many people here have done welding class?
You.
The acetylene torch, right? You're trying to get that blue flame, double cone. There, that's the hottest flame. That's going to cut the metal the fastest. If you've got a limited amount of oxygen, you're going to get that yellow flame. So we're trying to get a cool flame that if I can pass my hand over it, I can't even feel it. And we'll demonstrate that for you. One of our past students went to Ohio for his internship. He came back with the alternative method using 70% alcohol. So you take a lighter, you take a spray gun that forms a cone, and you put that alcohol over that flame. That cone shape is the key to making that happen. And you get this quick flame that burns itself out because it's restricted to the amount of alcohol you put on the cow. So whereas with the continuous wand, we can't stay in any, we got to keep that flame moving. So this is kind of auto. It's nice for touch-ups. I don't think I'd want to do the whole herd at the same time because between the lighter and you're doing a lot of, make your fingertips raw doing that. But we'll demonstrate both when the time comes. Doing 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 while you're standing around waiting for machine to finish. There's some real advantages to that alcohol approach. So the purpose of singeing, burning the hair off, is to keep the udders clean and the milk clean. So if we have less hair, especially in the winter, it should reduce prep time. It also should lower the bacteria counts in the milk. So why does that happen? Why do hairy cows, especially up at our dairy, lead to higher bacteria counts in the milk? Okay. So, but that's on the udder. How does that affect the milk?
Think butter soup.
Okay, it might get moved from one part of the udder to the other udder. One part of the udder to the other. So teats might fold up and sit in that. What's the other thing?
Cow soup.
Cow soup, but we're not using a lot of water, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. How do we attach machines?
Grazes it almost, if the machine pulsated on, raise the hair.
We bring the up at the dairy, we take those, hold that, right? And then you bring things up, right? You're passing by that hair. As we get to the top, the vacuum opens up. And what does it do? Sucks everything. We're vacuuming all that hair, right? So what does that become? So that bedding material ends up on the sock, and every bit of milk going through that sock is now inoculated with whatever bacteria was on that bedding particle. So reducing prep time lowers bacteria counts. So this is kind of a dramatic example. So this is the sock, the milking before we did the udder singe. That's the sock, the milking after. So all of those pieces of bedding are coated with bacteria, are going to generate slough off, especially at the sock. The sock is still warm, right? So those bacteria on those pieces are going to actively growing, shedding off. More are going to grow, divide. They're going to increase the bacteria. So this one's not quite as dramatic, given the picture. And there also been cases where the milker knew what I was doing and went in and rinsed things off. So milking. Another thing to consider is flavors. So everybody knows that legally Parmesan is only made in one place in the world, right?
You told us that.
Okay.
Close. Really?
That's not a unique fact. Everybody knows it, right? So there's a study done a while ago that the Parmesan industry goes, if we make more milk, we can sell more Parmesan. We can make more money. So why don't we do it the way the Americans do it? We'll start with, corn silage and fermentation and big bunks, and we'll, start producing more milk. That's going to lead to more production. That was a disaster from a taste perspective. So the Parmesan, if you're dealing with Italy, what do we know about agriculture in Italy?
Smaller.
Possibly smaller. How long's it been there?
Longer.
4,000 years? Have they had erosion control that whole time? No. So their pastures and their topsoil, especially on their grazing areas, are not very good. So what does that mean grows? Is grass going to be lush, perfect all the way across?
No.
No. So what grows on bad pasture? Weeds. Turns out some of those weeds were necessary to give Parmesan its taste. So if you switched over to corn silage, you're going to lose some of the flavors that come from that old, ancient, 4,000-year-old pasture. So they went through and they followed the cows and they tested what they were eating. So this has been a while before you were born, but the facts have not changed. So the thing here, this is reported in grams per kilogram. So what is this? Can you convert that to a percentage? How do we convert that to a percentage? These two columns to a percentage. Anybody know? In grams per kilogram, how many grams are in 10 kilogram? Not 10. 11? These go to 11. Nope.
100.
Nope.
1,000.
1,000. So you've got 1,000 grams per kilogram. So 244 of those 1,000 grams are dry matter. So how do we convert these to percents?
1,000.
No. No.
Where
We put the decimal point right here. So 244 grams per kilogram is 24.4 per 100. So you're sort of divided by 10, but 24, 15%, 40% NDF, 6% lignin, 12% ash, 65% digestibility. So the digestibility is fairly high. Protein is fairly high. NDF, probably a little on the low side for a forage. So what they did is they went through, they followed these animals around, and they collected whatever they ate, they collected it and tried to collect the same thing that they did. You take those individual plants or plant species, you put them into boiling water. You've got flavor compounds that are going to go up with that boiling steam. They're going to be, the steam's going to bubble through the sample. And then over there on the end, you're going to start to collect what those compounds are. So you're trying to figure out what's in those things that are not standard grass or corn or haylage, and what flavors in Parmesan, where might they be coming from? So compounds in pasture-derived cheeses, so that 4,000-year-old pasture, found in analyzed plants that were eaten. So you have odors here that are going to form your taste buds. So peach, orange, green hay, rose, vanilla, daisy, herbaceous, green flower, sweet, and fresh flower. So that's the super tasters can, just a faint note of strawberries in the wine or whatever. You have people, 1 in 4 people can be a super taster. They can pick up these tastes. Their palate is discerning enough to find those. So then you have the chemical name of that compound that does that. And then of the 13 plant species they looked at, how many of those had that compound? So all 13 had peach. So again, not a standard grass pasture that we see here in the Northeast. Some compounds that were found in the cheeses, but they couldn't find it anywhere in the pastures that they were looking at. And here's their thoughts as where these tastes might have come from. So jasmine, nutty, onion, fried, lily, buttery, hot milk. They're saying that maybe it's an overlooked species. We're not seeing what the cows are eating. It's in there somewhere, but we're not doing that. And then these here might be metabolic products that are formed in the room and that are formed in the body that end up in the milk. So what do you think of this set of flavors? All the ones they found in the Parmesan and all the ones that they didn't find. What do you think of those, just reading their names? You like those or not?
Sure.
Some of them. There's nothing there that's really gonna go, oh God, I don't want to eat that.
Maybe if you don't like it.
Yeah, but onion is generally regarded as a positive, at least a little bit for some people. Here's the compounds detected in the TMR derived cheese, but not in the pasture derived cheeses. So from our fermentations, we have sweaty, woody, body odor, and metallic.
Yeah.
Things that were ending up in the Parmesan cheese that were giving it, and that basically made the whole thing a disaster. This doesn't taste like Parmesan anymore.
It's like sweat. Could you imagine? That is disgusting.
Well, I mean, it's just a little hint. You've got all these other flavors, but you've got these added to the mix now, and they're gonna go, this doesn't taste right.
That's why most people don't like the taste of goat milk, is because those goats were housed with bucks and it starts to taste like goat.
So that's another thing. The environment the animal's in that can transfer some of those smells. So US, basically a silage based.
We got some nice sweaty, woody body odor milk.
We're not known for our famous cheeses, are we? What are we known for in the US?
Put in the pound though. Ice cream.
Maybe put enough sugar in it, you can hide all that, or enough chocolate in it, you can hide all the taste.
American.
Cheese, what are we known for? Cheddar. That's the American contribution. Vermont cheddar. That's our contribution. So you start to think about, what does silage do to the taste profile of milk? And what we've done over the last, 50 years, what has milk consumption done? Per capita milk consumption has gone right through the floor. Maybe this is the problem. Nobody likes it. There's a lot of people, you ask them, I don't like the taste. Of course, I tried soy milk by accident once, almost puked on the floor, but no, I'm good, thank you.
I'm just saying,
So is
not
there like
eating the other guy.
any way to get rid of like that, or is it just there all the time?
Okay, anybody heard of Arethusa?
What?
Milk like it used to be. I don't know if they're still in business, but they had, what was her name? That super jersey that won World Dairy Expo twice. Veronica. Anybody ever heard of Veronica? I met Veronica. Got to pet her nose.
That's so nice.
So we did that on a Dairy Club trip once. They allowed us to come in and visit Veronica, who loved people. But she won, World Dairy Expo twice. But that farm is started by some entrepreneurs in New York City, and they're saying, milk doesn't taste right. Let's get back to, why is it so different than everything else? So what they were, at the time, when milk was like $2.50 a gallon, they were selling in New York for $10 a gallon. So they were bottling every day, so they had their own bottling thing, and all they fed was hay. They did not feed silage, and that's part of the profile that got them something that people in New York City were willing to pay $10 a gallon from, so 4 times the cost of everything else. So if you want a product directly to the public, you probably don't want to have silage in it if you want to sell on taste. So pasture, if you can keep all the noxious weeds out. And almost here. And you probably want to focus on hay, right? Because the hay is going to not have all those weird metabolites that bacteria generate during the fermentation process. So-
Isn't silage mostly fat?
Convenience in the sense that it's way harder to put up hay than it is silage. So we can do more, handle more. We can get it done in 2 days. We don't need 3 days of sunshine, which is nearly impossible here in the Northeast. So that convenience, yes.
Well, it's easier to store too.
Yeah, if you're not dealing with small squares and you don't have a football team, you can dump that unloading on. So,
When we start unloading hay, I'll just tell the football coaches at our high school that it's their practice for the day, so I don't have to do it. It's cheap.
that's what we, I knew somebody, yeah, when they started unloading hay, he had a contact with the local high schools to come and load the hay. Yeah,
You got a wrestling team?
wrestling team, football team.
They can
What?
figure it out.
Well, that's when my father went to high school.
Lacrosse?
Um,
Just kidding. If you don't.
There
have lacrosse,
was-
We don't have lacrosse.
the area where I grew up, when my father was there, Sussex County had one high school, and the farm kids could only wrestle. They couldn't play football because they had to harvest crops. So basically, they beat the snot out of everybody in the 60s, 50s, and 60s. They had almost all the state champs because they had all these farm kids that just beat the snot out of people.
It's like I wrestle cows. You're nothing.
Yeah, you're nothing. So my dad was the only one when his team went to Newton to wrestle him at 12 wrestlers. He's the only other one that won. And that's because he was a farm kid as well. So, so see you tomorrow. Please meet at the sale barn. We're going to move stuff up and inventory and sort up at the other classroom.
Stocking density cannot be calculated from stall usage.
Stocking density is the number of cows over whatever space you're doing. So you need to know the number of stalls at some point, but not how many are being used at any one time. That's why we have those two measurements and we use them together.
That's why, so basically stocking density by space, stocking density by usable stalls, and then the stocking density at the feed line.
Yes, those are your 3 spaces you can use in the denominator. So how many animals do you have per animal space? No.